And welcome everybody to the Huddle, KGA9's weekly streaming sports talk show. I'm Jason Barr, joined today by Ryan Fish. Pat Paris is on vacation. Ryan, good afternoon. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Always good to pinch hit here and hopefully at least draw a walk or something like that. I don't know what the sports analogy is today. I guess it's not baseball season for
No, we're in the baseball postseason.
Playoffs, sure. Postseason. First time all four series in the DS are 1-1 at the same time. So that's cool.
You know, Ryan, I woke up this morning. I wasn't feeling great. Went to the doctor. I said, doctor, I'm not feeling great. Doctor says, I know exactly what it is. I said, really? What? Doctor says, you're running too much scheme. I said, huh? Doctor says, you're running too much scheme. Obviously, I'm having a little fun.
Sounds like you're the Arizona Wildcats football team.
Obviously, I'm having a little fun here with Brent Brennan, the Arizona coach, who, in the post game after the loss, and they said, how come you guys didn't do great in the red zone? Only got one touchdown pretty much to settle for field goals. What is going on in the red zone? And his answer is, I think we might be running too much scheme. And people aren't even sure, what does that even mean?
Yeah,
right?
It's a little bit of a vague answer. I guess that is supposed to mean that their scheme is being predictable. Their scheme is too obvious and the defense is figuring it out in the red zone. I guess.
All right. So he was asked to clarify and he said, well, either we've got too many plays or we've got a guy running the wrong way because and that shouldn't be because we practiced it so many times. Right. And so basically that's kind of how he clarified it. And then Noah Fafita comes into the presser after the game. And I actually asked Noah Fafita, I said, listen, Brent Brennan was just in here and he said the reasons for the problems in the red zone was too much scheme. What do you think he means by that? And he said, that's just kind of, Coach B doing coach speak. This was on me. And Fafita took blame for the loss. But, basically that was kind of the key word or the number one part of the post game was about this too much scheme business.
Yeah, it's that question of, Fafita does what he's supposed to do as the quarterback and takes the blame. The coaches don't blame the players, but so it's kind of like both sides don't want to blame the other. They're taking responsibility, which is a good thing, but it just does seem disjointed. And we're now, 6 weeks into the season and they've already had a bye week as well. This is the kind of thing that you might expect early on, but it is disappointing to see a team as talented and as explosive offensively as Arizona was last year and the season opener this year to suddenly have, now have weeks in a row where there's offensive issues like this, whether K-State game, they barely score at all, or they're settling for too many field goals, which you could argue they even did in the win against Utah. Also, I found this stat. They're 20 for 63 on third downs this year. That is less than 32%. That is 115th in the nation. So not good. You want to be at least close to average. And with a team like Arizona, you think you'd be talented enough and have the operation that can get those clutch conversions on third down. And they're settling for way too many field goals. If they didn't have a kicker as good as Tyler Loop, the results would be even worse. But thankfully, he's kept them in games single-handedly because he's so good.
You see some of the stats there. I want to pause for a quick second and go to our Huddle Poll question. We're going to go right back to the Arizona football game. But first, we've got our Huddle Poll question here on the show. And that is, it's actually Arizona basketball related, Ryan. It's what are you most looking forward to this season? Okay. So a couple of things, and you can vote on this. Go to kgud9.com/poll. And here's one of the four you can vote on. Caleb Love's fifth season, coming back for a fifth year. KJ Lewis's improvement. They got that freshman to sophomore year improvement. How about Jaden Bradley at point guard? He kind of took over the starting role in a way last year. Didn't start the game, but was in it at crunch time, right? And then when you got an exciting freshman, Carter Bryant's potential. Ryan, I'll start with you. What are you most looking forward to of the four this season?
Give me Jaden Bradley. I'm excited to see what he does with that expanded role. We saw him. He was probably their best player in March Madness last year, taking over that point guard role or that distributor role. And he's able to score. We've seen that too, especially in big games. So I'm excited to see what we get from him as a combo guard, but also now in this expanded role as the one in this offense. I'm excited to see that.
With more minutes. I did vote for that actually, but also I could have voted for KJ Lewis's improvement. I love seeing that freshman and sophomore year improvement, and he, physically has it and just a tremendous athlete and, had some flashes last year and had some good games, but certainly not, consistent, which happens to a lot of freshmen. So, I'm looking forward to those two. Anyway, you can vote KGUT9 KGUT9.com/ the poll. And at the end of the show, we're going to come back and take a look at some of the results there. Caleb Love's 5th season, KJ Lewis's improvement, Jaden Bradley at point guard, or Carter Bryant's potential. Okay, getting back to the football. And, what I would say, Ryan, is that at times I've been very critical of the coaching staff and all, and Brent Brennan. As we take a look, by the way, some news today at Traden Stukes, as we take a look at there, looks like he's out for the year with an ACL injury. And we also saw Gunnar Maldonado, coming off the field with crutches at the end of the game. So a couple losses on defense. However, you know what? Genesis Smith, Owen Goss, they did do a good job, in their past, in their place. Ryan, I've been critical of the coaching staff a little bit, but I don't put that loss on Brent Brennan or the coaching staff. Fafita and McMillan and obviously Tyler Loop have been great, but they all missed a little bit at the end. And as great as T-Mac is, he wasn't perfect. He got himself run out of bounds on the second interception. And then also, it's not like he dropped the ball. The defender came and made a great play of the fumble. And Fafita missed some passes, and they needed Tyler Loop to be 6 out of 6, and he was 5 out of 6. So, you know what? Texas Tech made a couple too many plays. They've got a terrific running back themselves and Taj Brooks. They've got good players on their side of the field. I don't put this particular loss on the Arizona coaching staff.
No, I think that the players, that your best players, the three you just mentioned are probably the three best players, with the exception of the running back room, which has been great this year. They all had their mistakes in this game, and I would agree that is kind of what led to the result, as encouraging as it was. And for a second, it looked like they were going to come
back. Here's the fumble, Ryan.
Times. Well, and
Guy made a great play. Guy made a great play on the penalty.
Yeah, it was. You saw it right there. Great play. And they, they're not going to, they said after the game, we're not going to get on T-Mac. It happens. He's going to help us win more often than not. But hopefully it's a learning lesson for T-Mac. For Fafita, first 2 interception game this year, he already has as many interceptions, 6, as he did all of last year. Now, he came in late, but he still had 9 starts last year, and he's got 5 this year.
The interceptions, though, were less his fault than some of the other missed throws, I thought.
Sure. Well, and yeah,
one was a batted ball. The other one, McMillan got himself run out of bounds. The other misses on the throws, I thought, were more of an issue than the 2 interceptions.
Yeah, and that, I think, is something. He said after the game, trying to force something a little too much. Sometimes that's what he put the interceptions on, or the missed throws on, that he's trying to force something. And I'm not really sure why that is, because they have a very effective running game. No matter who is in there, seemingly, they're able to get good ground game, and that they have a good kicker. So they have kind of, they have the backup in case Fafita is not able to have an absolutely prolific passing game like he did in the opener. He has his number one connection with T-Mac. They have other talented receivers. Kean Burnett has really come on this year. They have the weapons and a lot going for them offensively. So I'm not sure why it is that we're seeing him, as he calls it, forcing the ball a little bit or trying to do a little too much. He doesn't have to be Superman with this offense.
I thought this was the best that Quali Conley has run all season. I know he's had other good games, and he's good at finding the hole and bursting through the hole, and he's done a good job at that. But this was the first time he actually was breaking tackles. I think he was a little inspired by Taj Brooks. Sometimes, you got a guy on the other end, and you want to do your thing and match him running back for running back. And certainly Texas Tech has a terrific back in Taj Brooks. I thought Conley kind of felt that a little bit, and this was the first game where, when he got hit, he just didn't go down. I mean, he was getting yards after contact in a way that he wasn't before.
Quail. They call him Quail now, I guess.
Well, it has to do with the announcer Rod Gilmore mispronouncing his name in the first week.
Okay, I didn't know that. I just
so they called him Quail Conley, and so now everybody, as a joke, is calling him Quail Conley.
Well, and obviously coming over from San Jose State and the connection with the running backs coach Alonzo Carter, that is always going to help. And I was able to do that story with Alonzo a couple months back, and just the type of coach he is. He seems to really connect with his players. It seems like a strong room there. And Conley wasn't even the number one guy coming into the year, but with the Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt situation where he played the opener, and then suddenly there's this eligibility question that he's on the daily or the weekly depth chart every week, and yet he's not playing. We don't know what's going on there. And Conley been thrust into that number one role, and he's doing really well with it. I think that's one of the more encouraging things for this offense, and another confounding question as to why it seems like they can't get over the top and they stall out on so many of these drives.
I think they're afraid that if Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt plays a game and they win the game, they're going to have to forfeit the game if he's not eligible.
Right.
I mean, this is his 6th year in college football. If there's like a red shirt year and then the COVID year, well, I guess you can have 6 years. By the way, big picture, Ryan, I'm so tired of this 5, 6, and 7 years. I know this is the last year that somebody gives next year.
That's winding down.
It's not organic. If 4 years on a team in college, 4 years in college is enough. There's a reason why it's 4 years. Just kind of, I think with Caleb Love, bless his heart, great guy and all, but how much better are you going to be in your 5th year than your 4th year? And is that really going to make that much of a difference, coming out? I don't know. I hope for his sake I'm wrong, and he is. It just seems to me like I'm more of a 4-year person in college. I don't, these players for 5, 6, 7 years, I think it's too much. You should be able to get done what you need to get done in 4 years.
Well, and Caleb Love, we may know what he is already going over to basketball, and what he was is all-American level type play, but maybe not the player to get you over the top to that championship. Like they got so close in North Carolina, and hopefully we're proven wrong, and they're able to make a huge March run this year. But we may know what he is at this point. The improvement's one part of it. I mean, the reason why we're seeing it is the opportunity with NIL too. If you're staying in college longer and you're not going to the NFL in the football case, why not stay an extra year, make some of that money doing what you love before you end up having to move on to a different profession or giving the NFL game a shot before probably not making it to a roster because it's so difficult. So that's the reason why. And it's hard for me to blame kids sticking around a little longer when that opportunity and the money is there.
Who would have thought we would have seen a day where the UNLV quarterback leaves the team because he's not getting paid the way that he thought he would?
An undefeated team and on an undefeated team too, to do that. That is, I think, you could say maybe if that team was 1-2 or 0-3 and you got nothing going for you there, and that happens, you have the money dispute. Maybe you see a move like that, or you could tell someone 10 years ago, hey, can you believe this happened? But a 3-0 team and the starting quarterback doing that speaks to how much the money, how important it is for these players. It's running a lot of what we're seeing out there.
I love the sign that said, we're not UNILV.
And that's that's good. Actually, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah,
but that's the problem that these smaller schools have, is they're going to really struggle to win those situations. Whereas the teams, the programs with more money and more status, they'll be able to negotiate disputes like that because they have the resources to do it. And your players aren't probably going to leave unexpectedly, even in an undefeated season.
I'm Jason Barr, joined today by Ryan Fish. Again, this is the Huddle, KGUN9's weekly streaming sports talk show. Let's take a peek here at our Huddle poll question and see how it's doing. Let's see. I know we got some votes on Twitter, and I'm hopefully get some. Oh, it's getting some votes here as well. Okay,
very even.
Wow, how about that? Yeah, it's
and our choice is in last place right now by a
interesting. Well, look, I can see for the Carter Bryant, you always. There's always excitement around what a 5-star can be, that type of player. I get that. And, I guess I could see where somebody says, well, Caleb Love's coming back with something to prove. He's the reigning Pac-12 player of the year. He's going to try to do it now in the Big 12 and hopefully he'll have a better postseason. So I can kind of see that a little bit, but these are even enough. We'll check it again in a few minutes before we wrap it up, but so far in the middle for our Huddle poll question. All right, back to Arizona football here. And, the other thing about the coaching staff that I'm not going to blame them on is you look at just the parity in college football. You look at the top 25 this year. You look at all the upsets. You look at what Vanderbilt did to Alabama. Boy, I tell you what.
Which was awesome to see, by the way. The
Did you see them trolling Nick Saban on the scoreboard?
No, I heard some comments after. I did not see the
okay. So here's what happened on a talk show a couple weeks ago. Nick Saban's talking about coaching at Alabama, right, in the SEC, and he said when he was coach of Alabama that the only place that wasn't difficult to play was Vanderbilt. So Nick Saban said that, right? I'm sure that was locker room fodder, right, for Vanderbilt going into the game. Anyway, Vanderbilt upsets them. And at the end of the game, they were playing that soundbite on the Jumbotron. Anything you
Perfect.
say today gets back. Yeah, here's Nick Saban. He's trying to be honest on a talk show. He's probably correct. I don't think they ever lost to Vanderbilt before or whatever. Probably blew him out most of the time. And so he's, to be honest, he's the only place that wasn't really that tough to play. And boy, why didn't Vanderbilt? Here's my take on it, Ryan. If Vanderbilt had played like they did the other day, the previous years, well, then that wouldn't have been the case for Saban to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You gotta, I mean, they got up for it. I guess you gotta blame Nick Saban for the loss. Alabama's off the hook. It's
No, but you know what I mean? If Vanderbilt had played like that before, he wouldn't have made the comment. Why didn't Vanderbilt just play like that before? It's like when you're watching a NASCAR race and the car that's about to go a lap down all of a sudden looks like he's trying 10 times harder. Well, why would you drive it like that the whole rest of the lap? You wouldn't be trying to go a lap down.
I mean, they've gone through a good amount of changes, I believe, roster wise and coaching wise in the last decade plus. In their quarterback, transferred in Diego Pavi, I believe is his name, from New Mexico State. And he was inspired. The broadcast was talking about how he was inspired by Johnny Manziel beating Alabama on the road in 2012. So that, he's the leader of that offense now, and he wasn't there the years before. So that's what I'd say is the opposite end of that argument of all this movement in college football, how the money is ruining the game. I'd say, hey, there's a lot of movement now, and you can get more parity in some cases like this because you have players, coaches changing so quickly. No one would have imagined Vanderbilt beating Alabama anytime soon. And turns out just 1 year after Saban leaves, it happens.
Our producer, another Ryan McClure, says the Saban's comment was more about how, fans don't show up and the way that the Bama fans
did. It's also the reason they don't show up.
Well, why didn't you show up? Why didn't you get nuts before? It's the same thing then. Instead of the team, okay, then the fans should have got before. By the way, if anybody else wants to comment in, I think you can do so on Facebook and on our digital platforms, here on the Huddle as we talk about college football. Arizona football 3-2 as they headed to BYU this Saturday. Interesting situation, Ryan. The BYU quarterback is Jewish, and this is the High Holy Days. It's Kol Nidra the night before and Rosh Hashanah during the day, Yom Kippur during the day, and he's going to play on Yom Kippur. It's really a tough call, and I'm Jewish, so I can kind of relate to this and understand because hear about back in the day when Sandy Koufax didn't pitch on Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah is like New Year's, right? So that'd just be like having to work on New Year's. Not fun, but you do it, right? Yom Kippur is a little different. That's the holiest day of the year. That's the one day on the Jewish calendar you just don't work, right? But at the same time, you're not working from home on an individual job here. You've got a team around you that's counting on you. And so he says, he's reformed and he's not overly religious. He's going to play. I would respect any decision he makes. I think it's a very tough call, but it's an interesting situation that the quarterback of BYU, Mormon University, is Jewish of all places.
That is a really interesting story, and I'm sure for Arizona's sake, it would. They're hoping that he would have decided to not play, and you get the backup quarterback in the game. But yes, props to him for making that tough decision, and it is different than doing pretty much any other job when you have the amount of people on the team and around the team in university and all the money and everything that goes into it. A lot is on your shoulders, so I can't imagine me being in that situation what I would do, but I understand him making either choice. So that's a really interesting subplot. The other one, not so much a subplot, but the situation for Arizona going there is the second road trip in a row up to Utah. They were able to beat a top 10 team on the road in Utah with a backup quarterback, mind you, with Cam Rising not playing. And now you have a top 15 team in BYU that you are going on the road against. And it's kind of a reminder that, the Pac-12 was no slouch. I think it got a lot of hate unwarranted, but the Big 12 is a tough conference, and you're getting a gauntlet of teams, including Texas Tech, an unranked team that you were favored to beat. You play a sloppy game, and you don't end up winning that game. The first game they've lost at home in more than a year, and now you got to go right back to another top 15 team on the road. So the Big 12 is proving its strength here for Arizona. This is not a cakewalk for them.
No, afternoon game, and it's funny to hear Power 4. You see Power 5. I keep wanting to say Power 5, and it's it's a Power 4 now with with the Big 12. And, certainly they catch a little break because that Kansas State loss doesn't count in the Big 12 standings because it's officially, a non-conference game. So they get to say that they're 1-1.
It doesn't count in the conference standings, but it counts in the perception of how tough this conference is. They really got to be thinking to themselves, wow, we got our butts kicked. We got whooped on the road there. We're lucky it doesn't count to the conference standings because really they should be, what is it now, 1-2 in the conference?
Right. Yeah. No, if you were to count that Kansas State game, and yeah, exactly. They'd be 1-2. Picked to finish 5th in the 16-team Big 12 conference, Arizona football. So we'll see how they do. At BYU, I think they'll have a strong effort. It sounds like from what Brett Brennan said yesterday that they were pretty upset about what happened, and they're pretty determined to fix whatever issues there were in the red zone because they moved the ball. And, that's the case with most offenses. You can move the ball between the 20s. That's a little tougher once you get into the end zone. And sometimes it's just a little easier to take some shots in the end zone once you get down to the 20-yard line too. So we'll see if Arizona can fix that and in their afternoon game against BYU Saturday.
And before, maybe you'd be thinking, look ahead. You got Colorado coming to town for homecoming. I don't think that's in anybody's thoughts right now, given a disappointing loss. I think they've just got to solely be focused right now on this week. And let's see what they're made of. These are the kind of games that you see what you're made of as a team and also as a coaching staff. They, for whatever we kind of adjudicated it. What was the player's fault? What was the coach's fault? Are we showing too much scheme? We laugh about it. We actually get answers on Saturday. We actually get to see what kind of adjustments they make. They had a nice adjustment over the bye week after that K-State loss. They don't get an extra week this time. It is a quick turnaround to a road game, and we'll learn, I think, even more about this team this week than we will 2 weeks ago when they beat Utah.
All right, let's finish things up by looking at our Huddle Pole question, which was Arizona basketball related today. What are you most looking forward to of these 4 choices going into next year? And so far, it's about the same as what we had before. So evenly matched, that's good. More than one thing to look forward to. So, we appreciate you voting, and you can do so if you have it on KGUN9/poll. All right. Thanks, Ryan, for filling in for Pat this week. And thank you for your perspective. And everybody, this has been the Huddle, KGUN9's weekly streaming sports talk show. For Pat Paris and Ryan Fish, I'm Jason Barr. We'll see you right back here, same time next week.